Welcome back to Roody 2D, Day 2. Made a tiny little bit of progress here off camera. Not a perfect setup, but at least it lets me stockpile a bunch of these iron bars real quick for me to just pick up like so. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the stack size in this game is 80. So you can see my inventory here starting to fill up. I've made a couple different types of machines. The dismantler, the actuator, I guess you can see here. And then I also made a couple extra furnaces and a couple extra extractors because I intend to set up more setups like this that can just run until they stockpile. So I can weld a few of these up. And if I did that right, I can click R and rotate them and keep picking them up just like that, which is pretty cool. And then now kind of an amusing way to make these iron plates. So I think at some point here, I am going to overhaul this platform and make it so it's not so awkward for me to get around, because right now I've been having to go down, jump across, come up. So I'll try to make like an alleyway that I can walk, I think, and then I want to have contraptions above, and like a maintenance tunnel, and then set up, a few dedicated machines for some of the processes I can make right now. Going back to the research tree here, I just so happened to complete collecting 200 stone. I whip down here. You'll see that I threw a toggler and a lamp. And I haven't really worked out a design that would let you auto pick something up. 2, 3, 4, 5. It's still taken me a little bit to get used to the controls. A lot of misclicks. You can see how a person could have, a few machines that they make, and then if I hit Q, it goes away to an inventory spot, and I actually could have a template of several pieces of equipment or several designs, and fit them in your little tool pouch. One of the other things I wanted to mention, and I was playing a little bit off camera after the last video, was I never seen this button before. Completely clears up your inventory, which is pretty cool. Then what you could do is say, you know what, hey, I want this as a building material. I was trying to drag. You don't actually have to drag. You just click and click. But I guess you could lock that. And I think it auto refills too. It's a setting in the options that seems to be on by default. This option here I saw, hold backpack position. When closing and opening the backpack, it'll stay in the same location instead of resetting back to the center. Let's try that one on. That might be okay. After a little bit of trial and error, this is what I come up with. It's not perfect, but it should help me complete this challenge. And right there we see the fault. Whoops. The fault in this system. Also, I haven't figured out a good way to keep stone coming in. Because if I'm just standing here, it's out of my reach to refill it. So I'm probably going to have to come back to this one and tweak a little bit. But let's look at iron bars. If I was to start grabbing from this. We see the conveyor clears the iron bar, and the item can drop, and it just kind of resumes. It doesn't plug up, versus this one is actually plugged up. Now what's happening here is the furnace always emits a signal when it's processing. So as long as you put an actuator that's looking for a signal next to it, so setting that there, do they have to be connected? They do. So if you weld them together, as long as, whoops, looking for the wrong item here, it's processing, it emits a signal. So that's a cool mechanic early game. Because originally I was trying to use this trigger to stop it, and I realized, well, as long as you box it in, you kind of can set it up to only make, you know, this 3x3 column. And the reason I did that was to make more of these types of plates, because I can quickly, for the time being, until I unlock, I think it's called the Mantler. Whoops. But it'll just resume. Same with copper. If I could reach that far. And then of course the extractor is like the opposite. It needs a signal to run. And I think I've been calling this redstone, but it's called charge. You know how in Minecraft redstone goes from 0 to 15? Well, this is, you know, 0 to 255. And I think the signal decays. I don't have an actual long wire, but if you were to run wires between machines, you potentially can run in, you know, 255 tiles, which is pretty powerful. We put that away and we look at a conveyor belt. We do the same thing. This will actually move on me because it's touching the ground. And it won't just move on me, it'll actually crush me. So often you need to anchor it. Or, you know, you can anchor it here, same difference. That though, visually lets me know. Let's try that again. See how it stopped the conveyor? Then it resumes. So potentially that's another way you could organize your base, that when this thing is processing, stop the conveyor. This is the only combiner that I have. If I hit F1, I haven't actually unlocked it. It just so happens the Mantler for welding and the combiner are what I actually unlock. A little clunky, but I guess it works. Now for my own curiosity, if I hit F1 on here, it's unresearched, but I should have started with 1. Okay. Unfortunately, to make another collector, it seems it's way down at world manipulation. So that looks to be way farther than I ever got before. So I guess you're supposed to just carry this around, which is fine. So I will continue upgrading my base, and I will move this around to the different contraptions after. I figured this would be my access shaft. Everything is spaced 5 blocks because you can jump 6. And you can get around pretty quick. Maybe I have to weld these to the ground. I had originally put the logs down, and then the leaves are welded, but maybe I have to do that. If I hit F1, see, it shows welded, welded, welded. I guess is what I'm missing. And it makes leaves and logs. That's what it's saying. I don't think I have any footage of this yet, but basically this dismantler that I used to build my mine shaft, you can kind of use it early game. Do all kinds of clearing. Oh yeah, so it did grow. Let's just leave it and see what happens. Something I didn't notice earlier, but I had moved this out of the way and it didn't fall. Often when you place something in the world, it just falls, right? But because of this mass core, it literally kind of defies gravity. After about an hour of playing, I do think I like how that menu goes back to that spot. What's left for research? Wire. I think that's the strategy. Once I submit all these, I'll be able to make the welder. I think this is good progress for day 2. Checking out the research again. We need the inductor and the wire. And if you notice, these kind of need to be welded together. I don't know why that menu doesn't go back. And then the same with these guys. Welds the sides of a block to adjacent blocks. A charge disables it.